Are you a manager who is eager to change the trajectory of your career? I have spent the last 23 years as a Fortune 50 leader learning from other industry leaders how to break free from limiting beliefs and habits. On the Might in Motion podcast, we focus on the 4 M's: motivation, momentum, mindfulness, and might. We bring you leaders from Fortune companies, doctors, and entrepreneurs. Their stories of living their own might in motion will inspire you to create your own action plan and achieve your goals. Welcome to Might in Motion.
Today's episode of Might in Motion is brought to you by Pantheon FM, Fortunes Magnified. Pantheon FM is changing the world through entrepreneurship. In this community, you will find everything you need to create, amplify, and monetize your world-changing business. Join us at pantheon.community/register/LAUA. Today, I bring to you Brittney McWethy. She's a podcaster and a coach. Brittney has over 25 years of personal experience in overcoming depression, choosing the right partner, building a strong body, and running a successful business. She's here to provide you with personalized guidance, support, and love without any judgments. She believes that everyone deserves a chance to become the best version of themselves. And she's here to help you do just that. Brittney is a 10-year veteran hairstylist and personal coach to those needing to get unstuck of mental health blocks in order to achieve their dreams. All the way from Utah, Brittney, welcome to Might in Motion.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited because your podcast is on my rotation. And so I listen to you 1 or 2 times a week, depending on like how long my workouts are. So
I totally get that.
I love it because you bring tons of guests from varied backgrounds to share their stories on how they've overcome blocks in their life.
Yeah.
Can you kind of share with the audience, hey, what motivated you to start a podcast and inspire others?
That's a great question. I mean, I've been doing hair. It'll be 20 years tomorrow. I can't believe it. I am like, what? But I still love it. The greatest thing about doing hair is that I get to enhance somebody's energy, the way they look at themselves in the mirror and feel beautiful from the inside out. But people love to tell me anything. And I feel like I've always been an expert at listening. And so that has always created a safe space. And I've always created a safe space for my clients to tell me anything that they want. Just listen to them. If they want to bounce things off me, they can. And so all the things that she introduced me with the background that I have, I recognize that even though I was ready to like really live and dive deeper into having the best life, I still was missing something. And so I finally invested in myself in a coaching group and got a coach. And I've never done that before. And 2 months later, a huge event called Lions Den Live was held by Sean Whalen. And I went. And all these people on stage were just so motivational. Like I was crying, I was laughing. It was spiritual. It was all these things. And what stuck to me is like, why not choose to make a difference in life? Just because like, I just feel like I'm Brittney McWethy, who's a hairdresser. Like, why don't I have more space to help more people? Why don't I have that? Like, why can't I create that? And so taking action when you have an idea is very immediate, is what I've learned. And that's all that I kept thinking about over those 2 days. It's like, I'm going to launch a podcast in 7 days. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't know how to do it, but I have a phone and I'm just going to record. And I recorded my first episode over a year ago in front of workout equipment. My face is like completely zoomed in. I'm a lot heavier. Like when I look back on some of those older videos, I was like, oh my goodness. And you see this transformation and I am unrecognizable. the people that come on my show are unrecognizable from their past. And it's like, so many people have come up to me over the years sitting in my chair. I've heard my story and they're like, Brittney, thank you for speaking your truth, because that really helped me. I understand. I relate. So it's really about relating somebody's story, my story, to somebody that's listening, and that we can help them. And I believe mental health is so backwards in this country. It makes me so I'm so disgusted. And of course, like our government, our nation is trying to do it again and just try to control everybody and putting people in a dark place in their minds. And it's not okay. I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with the suicide rate going up. I'm not okay with sex trafficking. I'm not okay with depressed children. This all revolves around the same thing, as of how like we are trying to control by our government. But it's not that. It's just life also. You know, we might have a hard time growing up. We might experience these different things of loss, of feeling neglected. And I just want to help as many people as I can. And why not? You know?
Yeah, and I love it. Like, you and I were at the same event last year, and what you said when you say take action when you have an idea is a pretty big deal, because so many times people just get stuck with the doubt. And the fact that you've invested in yourself, we both have the same coach, and you do the work, you build your own stage, and now you have the ability to motivate so many more people to help them break free, right, of whatever's holding them back.
Right.
You're obviously really like passionate about all this, the things that you talked about, and you're passionate about helping others. Was there like one pivotal moment in your life that you're like, no, this is my calling? This is the calling that I need to be able to share and help other people break free.
Yeah, there was actually. I had. I was brought up in a very strict household through Christianity and, going to church, and I loved it. I don't have any regrets of that. But it was so strict, and the way that my mom would present, God and our family, it didn't put a bad taste in my mouth with how I was shamed in the church and from my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so after that, I was just very, very spiritual, and I was okay with that, because saying God was weird to me. It reflected on my mom, and that's not her fault. Like, I shouldn't have to put it on her. So that's something I had to grow out of. And, that's because that's not what God's about. Right. And all the motivational speakers last year at Lion Den Live, all of them put their knee down to God.
Yeah.
And recognize that God really does have your back. And I've always felt that. I'm very intuitive. I believe in very holistic ways of life. I believe that energy is always around us if we utilize it to our advantage. And just like, you go outside and like, look at everything around you. Like, that was created by God. It really was. And so that weekend, I put my knee down to God in the hotel room. And I was just like, just come on in, you take over and you lead, and I will follow. And ever since then, it's just been so powerful in my life. Like, I'm able to listen more. I'm able to listen to my gut more. And, following those footsteps of, all these things that I've learned in my podcast and connecting with people. And I know like God always is speaking through me. And I really feel that way. And that led me to doing more things in my life to help more people and stuff like that, but that was a very pivotal opportunity that I let into my heart that weekend. And I really feel like that fueled my actions to just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful, because sometimes people are afraid to share, like, hey, this was my calling. This is where, people say, you get brought up to the front to do your testimony. You know, if you're in a really super, you know, some of those churches where you got to go front and tell your testimony was private in your hotel room, and you still opened up yourself to hear what God was calling you to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think everybody has a calling. Right. And you may have different names for God, or you may want to say that it's just like an energy or whatever, right? But everybody has a calling on this earth, and that's to be like the best they could be for who they are, right? And like that may be in a corporate space, that could be in a hairdresser's chair, that could be, you know, making films, etc. But I think every individual has an obligation to really open up themselves for what is their true calling, because that's where they're going to thrive. And not only do they thrive, they're able to then pour into others and help others thrive.
Right. Exactly. You know, and I still love doing hair. I love that creative space. I love it when, you know, my clients, I have clients sometimes cry when they look in the mirror. Like, it's a beautiful thing. And part of being a hairdresser for so long, you know, I did hair in California for 18 years. Like, I watched people graduate college, get engaged, have a baby, get married. And I was there for all of it. Like, I'm there for all of it. And so a podcast is just a different way of like creating that safe space for somebody else. I'm just creating a stage for you. It's not about me. And I tell this all the time with my clients in my coaching group that I launched a month ago called the Freedom Den, where I'm just so passionate about helping people learn to love themselves completely, because I used to hate myself and everything around me was toxic. And I didn't realize it at first until I started that journey. And it doesn't happen overnight. But even in my coaching group, I'm like, I might lead this den, but my table of people are in this group too. They can it's not just about me. It's about creating a movement and that just spreads out. And because I want to spread love all over this planet. You know what I mean? Like that. If someone asked me, like, what would my top 3 wishes be from a genie or something, I would just say that everybody would love themselves and respect each other. It would be so beautiful and harmonious, you know, just because our pharmaceutical industry just wants you to be fogged in your mind with medication. And there's nothing wrong with medication. There's a place and a time for it. But they don't give you other options. Therapy can be extremely expensive. Not everyone can afford it. So they can go on my podcast and listen to free content. They can come into my coaching group or somebody else's coaching group that isn't fairly expensive to get help, to come to a safe space, to have a community. And that's what I've learned just from the Lion's Den is like, these people are my family.
Yeah.
You know, we all push each other to be the best that we can be. And that's a part of loving yourself, is making sure that you have the right company around you.
Yes.
And so that's the direction I just want to keep going. And it's a lot of work. It can be difficult sometimes because I have a full-time job and family and everything like that. But because that passion is so, it's like, I always like call it like a, you know, like Bowser from Mario, like his fire, like a fire belly, like a dragon, like it's all, I am so passionate. Like,
I love that visual. I know I'm laughing over here, but I love that visual. That's
right. I always say that, like, because my passion, like, it's just like, it spits out like fireballs, you know, and like, and you know, if something is really wrong in this world, I get real mad, you know, just like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But if we're continuing to spread love and kindness every single day, even by saying hello to somebody, because people don't say hello anymore. 2020 messed up people in that way as well. And when you ask somebody, how are you? Like, some people just look around and they're like, me?
Yeah.
Yes, you. You can change somebody's life by asking that question.
Yeah. And, I was at the airport yesterday and the day before because I was on the road for work. And I purposely, I do sometimes my second workout is walking the airport because I'll walk the whole length with my bag. It's a different kind of ruck, but that's okay. And I try to look at people, not to people watch, but to let me give you a smile. Let me acknowledge that you exist in this world. And it's interesting because some people are just like you just tell so many people just look down. They're all looking down. They're all looking down at their phone. They're all looking down where they're walking. It's like, oh man, just put your head up and look. There's so much to see.
There's so much to see. There's so much to see. And yes, being at the airport really does suck. Sometimes you're just like, leave me alone. Don't talk to me. Especially when you're in the airplane. Like I'm always like, don't talk to me. Like, and that's okay. That space is okay to be in.
Yeah.
Because when we're trying to be on this journey, one can feel guilty if we're not doing that 100
all the time. You can't do it all the time, though.
Can't. We have to be in our own space to come back into the present and be grounded.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like, there's so much going on in the world. There's so much going on here in the podcast and all these things. It's just nice to turn off, but people have turned off completely.
Yeah.
And alienating themselves. And then that causes depression or weight gain or all these things that they don't even recognize.
Yeah.
They don't have anyone having to keep them accountable. And that's what investing in yourself means. You're keeping yourself accountable to other people, to ask questions, to ask the hard questions, to create that space. Daniel and I are in Scott and Ann Travis's relationship coaching group. It's one of the best coaching groups, another one that I've ever been in. And because I've had so many failed relationships, which, because I was attracting the wrong thing because I didn't understand that I still had work to do. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I was like, Daniel, I want to start this on the right page. So why not? We're long distance. Why not? And Scott and Ann have created such a beautiful community because people ask hard questions. People bring up their issues as a couple in there, and it is so raw. We peel off so many layers and we get to the root of the problem, but we do it together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really beautiful thing. And I just love that. I want to create that too. I want people to feel like they can ask me anything. I mean, I say it all the time, message me, and if I don't have the answer, I know somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're obviously investing in yourself, which is awesome. What is something within your coaching group that gets you really excited to teach and help others with? Is there a specific topic that just fires you up every time?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. When it comes to relationships, because I've been in so many bad ones. And these are even friendships, the root of all that problem though. I had a therapy appointment. It was 6 years ago. Time goes by a lot faster. And I will tell you real quick, the biggest thing I'm afraid of is time. I feel like I'm not going to have enough time to give back as much as I can. Right. That's always a fear of mine. But I was talking to her and I was telling her about, the situation with my mom and how we don't have a relationship, and it's okay. We don't need to be in toxic relationships. That doesn't serve us any good, right? Until that person is ready to let go, you'll always hold space and grace for that person. Little tip. And, and then I was attracting all these guys that had similar personalities. And she said, it was out of all the money I ever spent, she says this: you are attracting your mom's personality subconsciously. And I was dumbfounded. And it was subconsciously, I didn't understand, but it was what I knew. It was what I was used to. So I have this track record of also, because of the way I grew up. And there was a time when I was so depressed and I wanted to be loved that I would do anything for anybody. And that hurts them. And it also hurts me. So with that said, relationships, I love to talk about because relationships are very transparent to me when people start talking about them. and sharing, this, and this. It's amazing what people put up with. It's amazing what I put up with people just because I wanted to be loved so bad.
Yeah.
I wanted it to work. I always looked at like the good, like, well, if this happened, it would work out good. Well, that one thing, if it's not there, it's not there.
Yeah.
And, the relationship with, having a toxic relationship in your own families and stuff like that. I just love it because I understand what people are going through. So it's my favorite thing to share and talk about with other people, especially in the group, and we unveil the root of the problem, and then they understand why they attract those relationships and why they're not growing. Because friends usually are going to support you, or they want you to stay comfortable.
Right. So that they can stay comfortable.
Exactly. Exactly. So your friends will change as you grow. And that's also something that is part of relationships. And, something I have also learned, like, I just feel like I know that I've never been married, you guys. I know that you might judge me for that. I don't care. I've been engaged twice. I get it, right? Like, but I have high standards for myself because I was on that journey of loving myself and trying to really understand, why I knew I was a good person, but why was this happening? Guess what? I needed to do more work. And that's the work I want to share with my students in my coaching group and everything like that. And then some, so it's all together. Like, your mind has to be right. You got to work out for your mind to be right. You want to feel good about what you look like, and it makes you feel good, and just having that ability to set standards for yourself is life-changing. Yeah. And it changes everything that you have to, accomplish in your business too, when you just put everything together. And I want to help people put all of that together through understanding their relationship with self, because it really comes down to, having faith. We have faith and stuff, but it comes down to, do we have faith in ourselves?
Yeah. It's interesting that you said relationships, because I think back to the hairdressers I've had, right, my entire life. And it's probably less than 5, right? And you end up being so close to these people. I don't know if it's a woman thing or what, but like, we will tell our hairdresser everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I don't know if it's like, because they're playing with your hair. I don't know if that's a trick or a tip to give to men out there. Like, I don't know, but like, if you just play with my hair, I might tell you everything you want to know. But it's interesting that's your connection, and that tells me that for the 20 years, you've been cutting hair, et cetera, right? Like, you've been doing this, but you've been doing it on a 1-to-1. And now you've pivoted that to a global scale, right? Because once you start putting your podcast out there, it's everywhere, right? Like, it's everywhere. And I'm sure you get people all over the world that have tuned in at some point in time. And I think that's something that you should be really excited about, that you are sharing that message and it is getting out there.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. What is another tip that I have for the audience? Like, sometimes you don't know who's watching, who's listening. And, like, I had a podcast last night and he made me cry on my own podcast, telling me, Brittney, like, what you're doing is so incredible. Like, I don't think you understand. And you're like, oh my gosh. So you're not going to hear it all the time, and you have to be okay with that. Because sometimes, especially with Amazon Primes, things like that, we're used to getting things like this. We have to be patient with that growth. And that's why it's important to be consistent and not stopping what you're doing, because eventually more and more people are going to listen to your message.
Yeah. And that's anybody in any kind of, like, if you're in any kind of leadership role, you've got a team, there's that whole aspect of, you got to listen to your people.
Yeah.
You may not know how much you've impacted them until 10, 15 years down the line. Right. And that consistency is key too when you're in a corporate space, because if you fold at every little thing, you can't execute anything.
Right.
Anything. So, people can learn from the consistency that you're doing with your podcast message, what you're doing with your coaching group, what you've done in your own personal life. Like you said, you go back and you watch your old episodes, and you're like, you're physically a completely different person, right?
Yeah.
And I can relate to that. I went on a similar kind of journey 5 years ago, right? Like you look back, you're like, what the hell was I doing? And you're literally shedding all of that to make space for something bigger and better.
Right. You're growing, and it's just like when you spread love and kindness, people remember that. I mean, when I was in high school and that my depression really started, that's where it started. And my best friend's mom was really good friends with the principal. And yes, maybe that helped, but every day the principal always found me somewhere and just said, hey, it wasn't just like, hey, Britt, how are you? It was just like, hey, Britt, how you doing in there? You okay?
Mm-hmm.
Checking. I will never forget that. Or when I came home and my mom put all my stuff in the front yard for being me. I had really good grades. I was an excellent soccer player. I didn't really party until my senior year. I went to a couple parties when all the, high school people were like, oh, we've been doing that since freshman year. What? I didn't know what the world was like. I just wanted to see the world. Right. And so there's people that come into your life and they show love and kindness, and you just never forget that, or this girl, when I did get kicked out, I barely knew her. I was at a new school at that time. And her family brought me in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, what is this? I don't understand, but I will never forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody took their clothes off their back for me.
Yep.
And that's basically, in hindsight, that's basically what I want to do for other people, as it helps you grow as well, of releasing and finding out the root of the problem. It's really just finding out the root of the problem, setting that intention, and having routines that will get you there to stay consistent in love and light.
I love it. So if this message has resonated with somebody in the audience, which I know it has, right? So Brittney, what is the best way for people to reach you if they're really interested in to learn more about your group, the Freedom Den, or your podcast and all that good stuff? What's the best way for people to connect with you?
Great question. It's a great question. Of course, you can check out the website and just kind of know what my coaching group's all about. But Instagram is the easiest way to get a hold of me. I'm on there all the time. I still use Facebook. I really like those apps. I find that, of course, there's a lot of bad things about social media, but I really utilize it to my advantage of connecting with people. And that's what it's about.
Yeah.
You will never bug me. You can message me anytime. I will get back to you. Ask me any questions. No question is wrong. And I am here to help guide you to whatever you need. That's pretty much it.
That's awesome. I love taking notes when I'm doing these. And so I had some takeaways. One, hold space and grace, not only for yourself, but for others. Take action when you have an idea. Do it. Just do it. Don't wait on it. Don't question it. Just take that action. Be open to God and what vision he has for you to help others. Have the right company around you. So what your parents told you growing up, right? You are who you surround yourself with.
So true.
It's so true, right? The older we get, the wiser we become. And then hold yourself and others accountable to what is important to you and your vision.
Yes.
So
good.
Those are my notes. Those are my takeaways. Nuggets from Brittney McWethy. Thank you so much again for joining us today. I really appreciate it. This has been fantastic. Highly recommend you tune into her podcast. It's great. Lots of great guests, lots of great stories. And, check out her coaching group. It might be exactly what you need.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for spending your time with me today. I have so much gratitude, and I'm very thankful. I appreciate you very, very much.
Thank you for tuning into Might in Motion. If you learned something about motivation, momentum, mindfulness, or might, please like, comment, and share. Thank you.